Hey, Banner North, it's me, Nick, again. Happy Wednesday to all you guys. We are now on day 4 of our video series called Moving Through Fear. And then the title of this one is Obedience in the Face of Fear. If you're not already following us on our devotional, I encourage you guys to hop on that. There's a lot of really good stuff we're talking about, a lot of really relevant stuff that we're going through. So if you're watching this, you probably are doing it. But if you know anyone who isn't, I would encourage them to be a part of this devotional as well, because there's a lot of things that God could be speaking to us right now. So to go into the devotional, today's verse was Joshua 1, verse 6 through 9, and it says, "Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the left or to the right, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." So this verse is coming from a very heavy place, a very fearful place. Kind of like the point of the devotional was to talk about obedience. And obedience is not just having a very strict daily quiet time. Obedience is not just following the rules. Obedience is not just about following these lists and regulations. Obedience is about walking with God, trusting in Him, and standing in a place of love and allegiance to Him, so that He could walk with us, so He could be able to speak to our fears, speak to the ways that we're struggling. And then for Joshua, this would come at a really fearful time. At the beginning of Joshua, he's about to enter into this very hostile land. There's a lot of things to be afraid of. Joshua has every reason to be afraid going into these battles, going into these wars. He's got some big shoes to fill. He feels like there's a lot that he's called to do. Doesn't know if he can fulfill those things. But the thing to remember that God will always speak courage in the face of fear. He will always speak to us things that we're needing at that time, because He knows what our soul is needing. He knows what we need from Him, and He knows what He could give us to be able to satisfy ourselves. And just to make it clear, fear isn't a bad thing. Your fear is very real right now. God's expectation for you is to not be strong because you shouldn't be in a state of fear. God is speaking courage. God is speaking strength because He knows what our soul needs at this time. He knows what we're needing from Him. And it's not to say that God expects us to be better or do better, but God really wants us to be able to speak life to those areas that we're struggling in. And so our battles look very different from Joshua. We're not struggling through wars or battles, but our battles are very much those of struggling with loneliness, isolation, anxiety, self-doubt, depression. I know my response to this devotional was very one of being in a place of fear. Recently, one of the pastors at my home church had passed away from COVID-19. So there's a lot to be afraid of. There's a lot to be insecure about, to be unsure about, but God calls us to be obedient, not to ignore those fears, not to just immediately cast away those anxieties, but rather to be able to confront those and to walk in them, so that they no longer control us. So just a couple reflection questions for you guys. One is, what areas of your life do you want God to encourage you in? Are you feeling lonely right now? You want God to talk to you about that? Are you feeling fearful for your family? Just think about, what areas do you want God to talk to you in? And then more so, what do you think it means to be obedient in the face of those fears? What does obedience look like to you? What does obedience mean to you during this time? One thing that I love about this passage is that it starts the verse with, "Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land." And God is speaking this strength, this courage to Joshua for Joshua's own sake, but also for the sake of the people Joshua is leading. And so, just one other question to think about is how can you encourage those around you? How can you encourage others who are facing similar fears, similar struggles? And how could your encouragement be able to lift those people up? So, for a prayer prompt for today, is just to be able to pray for strength and courage. Pray that God will be able to speak to you. Pray that God will be able to comfort you in your times. Just go before Him with all your fears, all of your doubts you're struggling with, and be able to ask for His strength, ask for His courage in this time. And then also with that, pray just for the people around you. Um, I'm sure you all know people who are struggling. You all know that people who are going through a rough time right now. So spend a couple minutes praying that for those people that you'll be able to use the love God has gifted you with to be able to speak life to them as well. I'm sorry that this is a bit of a longer video. I'll try to keep them shorter if I do one again. But yeah, I really hope you guys could join us in prayer today and could keep walking with us through this devotional. Thanks, guys.